Welcome to NC Political Tea, the show where North Carolina's political scene gets served piping hot, grassroots style. We're here to shake up the status quo with unapologetically conservative takes and a whole lot of Southern charm. From the halls of Congress to under the dome, we're exposing the deals, the drama, and the dirt that the mainstream media won't touch. Who's fighting for your freedom? Who's selling out to the woke mob? And who's about to get roasted? No fluff, no filters, and absolutely no time for spineless politics. Just bold Republican commentary, sharp analysis, and enough sass to make the left squirm. So grab your sweet tea or something stronger, and let's dive into the hottest headlines and juiciest scandals rocking the Tar Heel State. This is NC Political Tea, where the truth always gets served.
Happy Friday night.
No kidding. I'm glad you had the time off for Yom Kippur. It was good to see you back. But it is Friday, and it's going to be a big weekend, and we're headed into a lot of political, discussion and debate over the next few months as we head into the races in Charlotte. So I don't know about you, but I'm already just worn out with it.
Yeah, no, it's been a lot. I mean, this week has been heavy. We had the hearing on Monday, which we talked about, which was a kind of weird, episode the day after, because Sean and I were just kind of blitzed from that. And then, Yom Kippur, and then we had an attack on Yom Kippur, and now we have Iryna's bill, which has finally been signed into law, which we didn't know if this was going to happen the last time we were talking.
No, and late last night, I was going through all of old Josh Stein's political stuff, and he a million times said he was going to protect North Carolinians, and I just went after him because he just doesn't appear to want to really do the right thing for the citizens of this state. I don't care what party you're in. We all deserve safety, and we all deserve to feel like when a criminal who's been jailed multiple times offends again, there's a deeper and a harsher penalty.
I mean, that's only natural. And it's ridiculous. Look, I had an interview this morning with Representative Brenden Jones, who is the majority leader in the House. And we talked about a lot of things, but here's what we talked about with Stein, because I showed him some of the screenshots that you've been putting out there. And it was kind of remarkable, the discussion. He has promised on the campaign trail. I'm going to show you a few screenshots of what his promises were. I mean, and they're very central. And this is by no means exclusatory. I will fight crime. Here we go. I'm going to fight crime. Okay. As governor, I'll work to keep North Carolina safe. I'm going to crack down on crime. I'm going to get violent criminals off our street. He said September 21st, 2024. And I will work with Republicans and Democrats to keep our streets safe.
Well, he's yet to sign a great bill to start this. This is a great starter point for it. It's lying on his desk. It's going to be interesting to see if in the last few hours if he's going to sign it, veto it, or just lay it upon the table. So I'm watching closely like everyone else is. This is a good start. This is a good start for criminal reform in North Carolina. We've got to hold these criminals accountable. And we've got to do the right thing by these families to make sure that justice is handled.
Absolutely. And so when you look at these bullets, get violent criminals off of our streets. Well, he vetoed the bill that would take DEI out of the criminal justice system. That DEI actually is what put many of these criminals on the street with no money bail. So he's already done that. He's letting Iryna's law, which, eliminates no money bail also. So
it's kind of odd.
Josh Stein.
Yeah, so it's kind of odd that
he promised to fight crime. In fact, that was his central promise. And I think that he knew that he would get independent voters doing that. And he lied about it. I mean, he's already lied about it because, he did sign the bill. Well, he knew that it would be political suicide because he knew that he promised all these things. And the only way that people voted for him was that. But He voted against the DEI bill in government. That's another thing that has put criminals on the street.
Yeah, I don't think that that's going to stay very long. Honestly, I think what's happening is people are waking up, and we want the best, like Charlie Kirk said often. It's about merit, not skin color. And if you're not a good magistrate, maybe you shouldn't have that job. Or if you're not a good, because you don't have the merit, then you shouldn't have that job. And maybe that's what we should be starting to look at when we look at police officers, when we look at judges, when we look at prosecuting attorneys.
Well, the bail. I mean, if you're Black, you don't get bail. What the hell is that?
Yeah. Well, yeah, exactly. Because that doesn't happen to upwardly mobile white people, as you know.
As I do know directly, there is this policy that Stein put together and that Cooper put together. And as a matter of fact, Anita Earls, who is going to be running for Supreme Court, and it is absolutely dastardly. And we have to dismantle this limb from limb. But is the I'm just paraphrasing, equality in policing policy that Charlotte's using, and a lot of other cities are using. But basically, what they did is they did a deep dive and they said, well, shit, most people that are committing crimes are Black. That means the criminal justice system is racist, and we have to do things like eliminate cash bail. So this is a policy they've been using right here, and that's Josh Stein's, and that's Roy Cooper's. This is what you're looking at. 2020, this has been enacted.
I don't know how. Well, in Charlotte, in some of these big cities, there's no way you can get around it because they're just Democrat run. We only have one, I think, judge on the bench that's elected in the Charlotte area, right? It's just really sad that there's no way to stop it unless we get the federal government to come in and help us through a civil rights action.
Well, it's funny. It's sad that you have to do that. It's funny that you mention it because the Fraternal Order of Police in Charlotte today, well, I mean, they did a bunch of things, right? I mean, they called out, Vi Lyles. Look, there's been 15 murders since August 22nd. That was when Iryna Zaruz was killed. That includes, by the way, Margot, a 16-year-old and a 4-year-old child. And this is begging for the feds to come in because there is a vote of no confidence in the leaders of Charlotte, North Carolina, and it is leading to an unbelievable loss of life.
Wait, can you imagine the conniption fit that Josh Stein would have if Trump brought in National Guard forces to Charlotte?
Tom Tillis said he objects to that too, and he'll be right there on the front lines with Josh Stein.
Well, he's a Democrat. We all know that. The saddest thing I've ever seen is Tom Tillis, literally this past week when they were talking about crime in the Senate, they were having a hearing. He was still yammering on about J6ers and how bad they were and they shouldn't have been pardoned. It's just sad.
Yeah, he's pathetic. So let's just remember that. Let's refresh our memory. It was 17 days after the news hit of Iryna Zaruz that he said anything, but it was, I don't know, a few hours. Actually, I think it was 2 hours. We said 2 hours before he acknowledged that Jimmy Kimmel had been temporarily shit canned, right? So let's just go over what Iryna law is. It alters bail pre-trial release, and it eliminates that cash money bail that I showed you about in that policy. Magistrate oversight. Obviously, we know that magistrates are lenient to say the least. That's why DeColores Brown Jr. was left to roam the streets. Death penalty resumption. I have my doubts on this. We are going to have to push full steam ahead. And this bill does expand grounds for involuntary commitment, meaning that if, as often happens, somebody in your family, in a criminal's family, wants to civilly commit them, there'll be expanded ways that they can do that.
Well, and we're really actually watching that mental area of that bill come to light right now, because as it's been passed now, the killer of Iryna is trying his hardest to use the mental incapacitation as part of his defense.
Well, in this report, in this equity report, they also say there's no such thing as a criminal if they're Black. They're insane.
Oh, that's right. It couldn't be that they didn't grow up without a father in a bad neighborhood and nobody helped them with modeling. That just couldn't be right.
Yeah, no one helped them at all, especially because most of the crime victims, which this report acknowledges, happen to be Black. So it's the victims are Black. So how are they protected? I mean, Democrats do not care about anyone except for Black offenders. That is it.
Yeah, well, the thing they are not counting on is the rest of us, because let's just be honest with the numbers.
Whatever color.
13 to 17% of the state is Black. That is all. The rest are different races. And if you're a victim of crime and you're the majority, you're not going to tolerate that.
Well,
just not a crutch.
Well, not only that, a majority of crime victims in general, according to this report, are Black. So in other words, most Black people are not going to be with us. They do not. No one wants criminality.
Well, and I voted for Trump for, right? That the Black numbers came out and said, we voted for Trump because we're tired of the crime.
Right. I mean, it is an 80-20 issue. I mean, that it just is. And so nobody wants crime. But again, no one is a voice for Black victims, because a lot of times unless they have a white offender. That's the criminality of all this. That's the unfairness. I think it's the racism.
Oh, quite frankly, blatant racism. And what's really interesting is how many of the prosecutors, honestly, real numbers, how many prosecutors are Black? Not that many.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it'd be a good study. But a couple of years ago, Tracy McGinn, and who I'm supporting, who is running for House, she is in Mecklenburg County, wrote an article with another lawyer, and that lawyer is Dan Bishop. They pointed out these very issues, and they were calling for things like removal of no money bail, et cetera. And they warned, they said, look, Charlotte is a cesspool of crime and corruption, et cetera. And damned if it isn't.
Well, it's not just Charlotte, but I mean, the highlight is Charlotte right now. And it's really kind of sad because Charlotte used to be the big city, little town kind of feel, It's not like that anymore. Nobody wants
born and raised there.
Oh, that's right. You were. I forget, because you're a woman of many places. But, you remember when it was really small town feel, and the same with Greensboro. You can't go to Greensboro anymore and feel safe downtown. You can't do that in downtown Raleigh at night. It's weird what has happened to this.
Definitely cannot.
And Asheville's another one. That was the sleepy city that, you could go out day and night and have a great time, and everybody wanted to go to Asheville. And you don't do that anymore. You don't go out in Asheville at night.
Well, I mean, the criminals have taken something from all of us, actually. This is actually what Stacey McGinn, again, she's running for House in, I don't know which district, but in Mecklenburg County. So she's thought a lot about these solutions. This isn't new for her. She called me a little bit before the show and wanted to point this article out. Fully fund and expedite implementation of the e-courts related. I mean, we've done that, so that's pretty good. Disallow bail recommendations. The bill does that. Failure to appear in court 3 times. No bail. I think that's been done. And again, failure to appear, etc. This crime bill doesn't do anything to address that, but we have to do that. We have got to get those laws under control too, because a lot of times you arrest someone, they don't even show up for court, and then there's a whole nother process, and then a whole nother court date, and the courts are bloated, etc. We need to start penalizing things at the low end and at the high end too.
Understand. I totally agree. I do also think that, I know this is probably controversial, but if you're accused of murder, rape, kidnapping, I don't think you should automatically get bail. I don't think that
Why is that controversial? I think that's
you're presumed innocent. That's why.
Yeah.
If you're a person,
not on murder though. I think murder is a bit different. But you're saying rape as well. I think murder, I've seen a lot where they don't get bail.
Well, I've also seen where the ICE detainers, like those are coming out of Charlotte more than any place I've seen. They caught a guy in St. Lucie, Florida yesterday for the murder of 2 people in Charlotte. It's amazing to me the number of illegal immigrants in the Mecklenburg, Charlotte metro area. What is going on?
What they're tolerating is unbelievable, and it's really brought to the forefront. There's another oh, shoot. That's when we're going to put up there. Let's see. Okay. The Second Look Act. This is something that Representative Jones pointed out. This is what the Democrats have proffered as one of their criminal justice reform acts. And what it wants to do is say, look, if you have a crime, you're going to serve, 50% of the imposed sentence. We're going to let you out. They do not want people in jail.
Well, they don't want them in jail. They don't want them on sex registries. Let me tell you, North Carolina has the least.
They don't want them in mental hospitals.
That's right. They don't want them to be visible to people around them. There are people believe it or not, in the GOP even, who have been charged and done jail time for indecent liberties with a child and only got 7 years on a sexual registry. Registry. In every other state around us, you have to be on there 10 to 20 or sometimes a lifetime. We should not allow that.
Yeah. No, it's seriously, no, we have to have a zero tolerance. We have to zip these policies up, and we need oversight. I think we're going to have Auditor Dave Bullock on next week to talk about oversight on all this stuff, because
and I think the standards need to be uniform around the state. You can't have one policy in Charlotte that allows these criminals to get out and another policy in Podunk, Cherokee County where you can't get out at all. You know what I mean?
No, we need a 3-strike rule too.
Absolutely. We had one. That was a federal rule. Why don't we have that imposed anymore at the state level?
We do not. We do not. We need we need all kinds of things. But look, Representative Jones told me that this is the beginning of some more reforms, and I'm pretty glad about that.
Well, I want to go back to what has worked in the past. 3 strikes and you're out. That absolutely needs to come back. I also think that we have been really lenient on drug crimes. And 9 times out of 10, a person that's doing a lot of drug crimes turns out and does more violent crime because they have to steal and do other things. We're just not.
Oh, we've seen that.
Yeah, absolutely. And the last thing I'll say is I'm not sorry to bring the death penalty back. I'm not.
Hell no. By the way, this just proves your point. These guys were arrested for violent things, but they started out with drug things, just like you said. And so they've got 24, both of these animals have 24 prior arrests on their record. They were arrested yesterday for violent crimes in Charlotte. So that, we're just picking on one city, but yeah, it happens in Durham. It happens in all these states or all of these cities that are run by Democrats. They favor the criminals, the most important thing, the center of their universe. And, they don't give a shit about victims.
I do want to harken back to an episode we did. It's probably been 5 or 6 months ago. We were talking about New Hanover, the beach, Wilmington, where that guy got out of jail, went out, got a knife and killed that woman.
Yeah. Yeah. We need to be examining this logic. Jails were built for people to be in them, right?
To protect us, not to, protect them.
Yeah. Yeah. A lot of these Democrats were running on not only abolishing the police, but abolishing jails. That's what that nitwit Mondani wants to do up in New York City. Abolish jails. Oh, I'm going to show you, by the way, at the end of getting to the end of the show, what that looks like and what it looks like with them out on the street.
Well, I think people even on the left are starting to really realize the left is nuts. When Bill Maher gets on and says, look, you guys lost me a long time ago. I think even the most liberal, not liberal like progressive, liberal Democrats are like, this is crazy town. We're not doing this anymore.
Yeah. In what world are we okay with people breaking into our houses just in the name of liberalism? Screw that.
Wait a minute.
And that's what they're saying. That's their, yeah.
You're supposed to let the refugees live with you, remember?
Right. I'd have more respect if they were hypocrites and they didn't really actually want to go through with it, but they actually mean it. They would probably live with these people. That's how insane they are. So moving on, we've got a budget battle, and you're right. When you opened the show up, I thought it was brilliant because you're like, Jesus, there's so much to talk about. What do we do? The budget's coming up. And so the Senate and the House both have different versions, and they're going to kind of work it out. Right. But they're on the sticking point. There's a couple of things. And then, Medicaid is one. And I like the position of the House, I'm not going to lie. And then a children's hospital, building a big, expensive children's hospital is another one. And I'm going to let Representative Jones talk about what's going on in that. All right. So what I've noticed and what I've read in the paper is that the Senate, they've wrapped a $103.5 million fund or earmark for a new children's hospital that's going to be in Apex, right about where I am, into the Medicaid funding bill. Now, the House Republicans say they don't want that embedded. So can you explain to me why?
Well, it's the philosophy of the House and good government that you do not tie one thing to another. We're very disappointed in Governor Stein to start off with because there was no reason to do these arbitrary cuts. This is nothing more than political posturing by the governor. Medicaid was fully funded, is fully funded till May of 26. He thought that he would be kind of cute with a bargaining tool that he failed to realize that that doesn't work. We're not going to be intimidated by the governor. The General Assembly holds the checkbook. So he doing this, again, arbitrary hurt to employees and citizens of this state is wrong, especially to the rural areas that need it. So we're very disappointed. But back on it's a total of $300 million that the Senate's trying to tie our hands to. And what's odd about this is the General Assembly is not tied to a previous budget. At no times are you tied to it. So if the Senate feels like they should have had $300 million, that's something they should have handled in the 23 budget. We're on to the 25-26 budget. So we're not encumbered by anything that arbitrarily that they think they're due, which they're not. And again, with this children's hospital, I'm not really understanding why they are so adamant about us doing this. Last time I checked, Duke has approximately around $8 billion in an endowment. UNC has several billion dollars in endowment. We had given money in a previous budget to buy the land, which they've done, is my understanding. Or I'm just not sure. And again, a freestanding hospital, I don't know exactly what that means. I see it as a drain to the state. I do not think that's the proper way for us to move forward. We would be pillaging other hospital staff that's already short in the state. We have some of the finest hospitals in this state. I have visited the Children's Hospital at UNC several times to see constituents. Those people do a fantastic job. And by our accounts, we only had about 40 children that were shipped out of this state last year seeking care that was not being able to be provided in North Carolina. And I just don't understand with the facilities that we have why they're so adamant. Now, the House has a different philosophy, and we're looking at some other avenues that we think that monies need to be spent in the state. But trying to hold one budget accountable for the last budget is not the right thing to do.
Okay. I totally agree. So what I've noticed and what I've read in the paper is $5 million fund, or trying to pause that. So they wanted $80 million at least for another hospital. I thought what was incredible is that the research in the House shows that only 40 kids were shipped off, and we don't know.
Oh, that's very plausible if you live out in this area. Think about it. If you're only an hour and a half from Children's Hospital in Atlanta and you have 40, and I know some children that didn't even go to Atlanta, they had to go to St. Jude's. That makes sense.
Or a specialty hospital.
Correct.
Right. And so we don't know the reason, et cetera, but it's just more money. And what he was saying is that, look, the Senate said, well, when Tim Moore was here, Tim Moore agreed to $300 million, et cetera. Well, you're in a new session, right? And there are new legislators there, et cetera.
Timmy gone.
Yeah, you can't say that that the legislators coming in don't have the right to vote on something because it was decided with other people.
I think the most interesting thing he said is that Stein made this more difficult on Medicaid than it needed to be, which gives me an insight into the new guy, the new DHS guy, and what he's like. Because if he's the kind of person that would really manipulate the numbers like that, what a creep.
Well, he told me that the guy hadn't even knocked on his door yet. Didn't have any interfaith thing, any faith in him at all. By the way, I'm airing all weekend. We'll be airing the full interview with Majority Leader Jones. It was 30 minutes, so it was good. We got into everything from religion to crime to all kinds of good stuff. But one of the other things he told me, and we're going to talk about Medicaid in a second, but I did ask him a couple of questions about Medicaid fraud. That has been a huge.
That's my bucket.
Oh, well, we're going to talk about that. And so he did tell us about the government ops program that we really need more information on. And so I think he just kind of previewed it here.
We're working very hard with Bolick to make sure that and I mean, here's the problem. There's so many things. There's NCORE, there's DHHS. I mean, there's just so many things, and we can't tackle them all.
I mean, look at the school board in Winston-Salem. That was, I mean, look at Charlotte. I did speak with Dave, and he told me he was going to open up an office in Charlotte, which speaks to the utter corruption and the mess that Democrat-run cities happen. I mean, you move to that operation to Durham, Lord knows what you'll find.
Well, I mean, stay tuned. You're naming a lot of places that getting looked at very hard. As we're seeing in the media, these misappropriation of funds, can't pay their bills, can't balance the bottom line. Dave and I talk frequently, and those are things that we're looking at. Misappropriation of funds, misappropriation of agencies. It's just, it's a big bowl. Which bite do you start with? I think he's done a great job. I think we're doing a great job at our government ops, holding these people accountable. The problem is, as our president likes to say, the fake media won't cover it. We had a great government ops meeting about a week ago. I called Governor Cooper out on many things that were wrong. You didn't see that on the news. The only way folks can see that is if they go to the YouTube channel and watch it. But we're calling them out. It just doesn't make the mainstream media because these fake media, they protect this corruption.
Well, I can tell you what, we'll cover it. And that's what I told him. You send it to us, we'll cover it. But as he said, there's a lot. One of the things I want to ask Dave about next week, I mean, I want to see handcuffs. I'm sorry. I don't accept that, however many, $40 million was misappropriated in Winston-Salem, $30 million in the CAT system in Charlotte. I mean, somebody is stealing this shit. I mean, right?
Listen, it's so funny. I just watched an episode of Sean Ryan, and he was talking about churches because that's become another big point of contention. Like, where's the money in a church? And and I think about that no different than you think about a government,
small governing body where you don't want to tell
every dollar. It's not your money, and you should. I don't care if you go buy a Starbucks on the town. You better put it in the.
You can't do it with election funding. I'll tell you that.
Well, because clearly what we're seeing is, and we see it everywhere. It's not just in Charlotte. It's not just in Winston-Salem. Come on, we know Rona spent $350,000 on flowers.
Small towns do it. I mean,
yeah, they're doing it here in town. We don't need a roundabout in the middle of town, but here we have one that's going to cost us a couple $1 million just because that's what the mayor wants. At some point, the people are losing, and we have to have more accountability and more access, more preview to where the money's being spent with receipts. If you don't have a receipt for anything over $500, I want to know where it is. You can't run a corporation like that.
Well, even under that, because you can.
It's $100.
Yeah. And so there's really a few things here because, I mean, all of our folks want to know about accountability. So there's Auditor Dave, who's really keeping his campaign promises, doing his job, and very transparent about it. There's the government ops, the House Government Ops Committee that he was talking about. Mm-hmm. But there's another one called, it's really the Doge initiative, if you want to say that. And that's with Representative Keith Kidwell and then Representative John Torbett. So the interesting thing is next week, we're going to have Representative John Torbett from the Doge committee, as well as the state auditor. And we're going to grill them.
Yeah, we need to. I think
we have some problems.
I think there needs to be more fiscal accountability at the localist of local levels. How does this transit system have less employees and have more money spent on it? That's the same thing we've seen forever in schools at the school system level. There's so much more bloat in the administration, and the money's not actually being spent on students. We know what's going on. We just need to find out where the money's going.
And prosecute. And that's one of the things that Dave knows we're really hot to trot on. Okay, so Medicaid is a good way to piss one of us off if you bring up that word. And now, at the federal level, they've shut down the government, and the Republicans are pointing out they want Medicaid for foreigners. And the Democrats said, well, that's pure BS. They're not doing that. And here in North Carolina, what do we see?
I love that they call him a child under the age of 19. So if you're 18 years old, you're an adult.
So they're saying you can apply to, and I think they made another ad that was even more glaring, but we know illegals are on the program. We know a lot about this program, and we put it out there. It is full of grift. It's full of mismanagement. We know that 45% of our state's budget goes to Medicaid. We know that $1 in $4 spent on Medicaid is spent on someone who doesn't belong on the program.
And we know that we're in the top 12 of all the states that overpays or has Medicaid errors.
Right. And so why do we keep funneling money? And I asked Representative Jones about this. Why are we continuing to fund something that is ever expand 45% of our budget?
Yeah.
45% more than on education, more than on public safety.
And when did that become? It used to be that education was the biggest part of the budget, which is really it's very telling that the budget has shifted over the last 10 years from education to Medicaid. That is very telling on the state of North Carolina.
Shifted to a known source of fraud, waste, and abuse. And this cannot continue. This cannot continue. It's
also, let's be honest, Medicaid is socialized medicine.
Hell yeah, it is. Every North Carolina family, middle income family, pays $4,000 a year. Okay, that's half of a college and in-state tuition at some of our better colleges. Almost half.
Yeah.
So 10 years ago, just like you said, and now today. Okay, spending. This is in North Carolina just in the last year. From 2022 to 2023, in billions, how much has surged after Medicaid expansion? And oh, by the way, don't let them kid you and say, well, the feds are paying for that. Who the hell do you think pays federal taxes?
We do.
Hell yeah. And this is it. Look at this.
I think it's not just enrollment. It's the defining of eligibility of enrollment. They have stretched it like you just showed. If you're an illegal woman at 18 or 19 or under, and you get pregnant, you can anchor baby your child in North Carolina. And
you get a sex change pay for it.
But guess what? Not only do you get covered for Medicaid for being pregnant and illegal in the state, the child gets covered for a full year after.
Well, or years and years and years and years. So we have a problem with that. No, by the way, next week we're going to be talking about the foreign doctor bill. Don't think we have forgotten.
No. Did you bring that up with Brenden Jones? I wondered if you did. You were nice. You were nice and you didn't.
Next time.
Listen, we will get the interviews, but we're also not dumb. We're not going to poke this bear.
No, I will. Let me be transparent. When I go to interview a lawmaker, I will say, can you talk to us about this subject? Okay. And specifically, our audience wants to know about this. When I asked Representative Jones about this, I said, will you talk about the budget holdup? Specifically, we're interested in the spending on the Children's Hospital and Medicaid. And specifically, we want to know about what's going on with the fraud. In the interview, he told me it was, the governor's role, et cetera. But we also know that there can be hearings. And like I said, there can be oversight, et cetera, et cetera. And he pointed out something that is true. There's a lot of shit to look into, but we're going to be the loudest.
Oh, good. And, listen.
On Medicaid.
And I got to say this, kudos to Brenden Jones and to others that come on here and allow us.
Cash. Yeah.
Yeah, and allow us the opportunity to talk to them, because I think the audience really deserves that, first of all. But secondly, I think they're starting to realize we're not adversarial. We just are questioning. And I think good citizens and good journalists always question. That's your job.
Well, the funny thing is I had a couple of reps reach out to me today, and they said, wow, I liked your interview about the religion thing, and, said a few other things. And they said, wow, it's really good that, you're giving us a chance to interview. I now interview anyone. And I said, I want you to know something. I'm not political.
No, I am.
No,
That's
I mean,
I'm interviews.
I am, I hesitate to say journalist, because a real journalist, you should never know where they stand, right? You should know if they're Republican or Democrat. But I do consider myself a journalist because I have a set of values and I will go after anyone, right? And it's almost always Democrats, but
I call myself a commentator. I mean, it's not that I won't do the investigations, because I have. And I've done them truthfully, but I do consider myself more of a commentator on what's going on in our state. And also, I want to be more of an informer. Maybe I slant the view of what I'm informing on. I'm not going to deny that happens, but I really try to let North Carolinians know what's top of mind, that they're too busy doing other things to know. So I'll tell them, and if they have 5 minutes, they can grab it. If they can't, that's fine.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I can't tell you how many people, and I'm extremely grateful for this, have reached out to me and you, and me and you together, and said, I get my North Carolina news from you. And it's been now almost, in the several hundreds. And that means, everything to both of us. And thank you for that. And it's a huge honor and responsibility. And we will call it like we see it, try to get you as much a primary source as we can, like the interviews, but also correct ourselves when we're wrong, because we're human. And
that's true. And I think the most important thing you can do is just be honest and try to do the best for your constituents. And I consider them my neighbors. And I just really want people to care about what is going on, because I think people used to live day to day without ever knowing what's going on on Jones Street. And without knowing what's going on Jones Street, they don't know what's going on in their own backyard. And that, to me, is something that you can't change.
We do that.
No.
You brought up such a great point, because nobody does that except for News and Observer, WRAL, ABC 11, the outlets that are here. But who does that on I'm talking about grassroots conservative, not big money, big interest.
No big stages.
Kitchen table. How do we, and you really get me thinking and drilling down to the esprit de corps of what we've always wanted this show to be. And it is demystifying how these laws are made. Knowing where, if you're in Lenoir County or you're in, Wake County or Cherokee, wherever, what really is important to you, which a lot of times when reps are in Raleigh, they're in an echo chamber a little bit, but kind of demystifying that, opening it up, and conducting some investigations. Sure.
And I think some people don't realize there's a lot of incentives that take place in the Raleigh, Jones Street for businesses, but that happens at the county level too. Yeah. And so if we can teach you one thing that you can take back to your county level and look at your county commissioners and your city managers or your town managers and ask questions, that's winning. That's really winning.
Absolutely.
Everybody has a budget.
Right. I think, accountability across the board, but, complicated things favor those in power. We know that. So when we can make it simple for you, we give you the power, and we take away the power for whether it's lobbyists, big companies, corrupt politicians, whoever. We take away their power and give it to you through education, understanding, and perspective. Speaking
of power, let's talk about what President Trump has done in the last couple of weeks with designating Antifa as a terrorist organization, and what is going on in the global arena with terrorism, and how it's really permeating America, because it has hit North Carolina. We know it, especially on college campuses and in radical cities like Asheville. let's just talk for a minute. Sloan, I hate to put you on the spot, but tell us what happened on Yom Kippur in Manchester, England.
Well, to that, I will say, this has a lot to do with everyone, actually. And so there was a globalized movement for BLM. There was a globalized movement with Antifa. Jew hatred is the oldest hatred ever, actually. And now you're having it on the right and the left. I have Christians, I want you to know, distraught, calling me, telling me that there is a replacement theology going on where Republican Christians are saying that Jews are not the chosen people according to God. Christians are, which means there is no Old Testament. There is no Jews at all. We don't exist. And apparently I didn't believe it. And a couple of people that I thought were my friends, one of them was a donor, is saying that. And they're saying that Israel is evil and corrupt, when in fact, Israel is the only country that is engaged in head-to-head battle with Islamic terrorism. And I've noticed that these people don't say a damn thing about 22 Arab nations at all whatsoever. The same nations, by the way, that are oppressing and killing Christians, top of the line, women, etc. They haven't said that. They haven't said anything about the tens of thousands that are genocided in Africa in particular. Christians haven't said a damn thing about that. They're on the side of Islam, and we have a very strong contingent. We've got, Marjorie Taylor Greene. We've got obviously Tucker Carlson, Candace Owens. Now Megyn Kelly is playing footsies with it. But you have real people, and it's really splitting the base here in North Carolina.
Yeah, I don't think people understand, though. The same terrorists that we're talking about right now with this are also the same terrorists that are in Antifa. They're the same people.
Oh, right. So we'll get to that. I mean, they're Arab, yes,
or sympathizers.
Well, they're Arab or merriment makers. Okay, so in Manchester, you had a guy named Jihad. Now, this is going to sound a bit familiar. Jihad is a Muslim, from Syria, and he was let out of jail. He's out on bond for rape. And he goes and he kills 2 Jews during a Yom Kippur service. And then this was extraordinary. But this is what we've seen as Jews. We've experienced this. We're not allowed to be upset about October 7th at all.
Right.
Because
you're not allowed to call them terrorists, right? Remember that?
Yeah, we can't complain because we've got an onslaught of the worst, most virulent anti-Semitism you can ever imagine. I mean, I've lost a lot of friends because of it, point blank. Because they've been sucked into it. So I want to make sure that everyone knows there's no means now, just on the Democrat side, unfortunately. But let's get to this. You've got, just like what happened on campus, October 7th happened, and 2 days later, the whole campus erupted in celebration. This is what Jews have to go through.
I can hear you because the loud noise is coming out of the protest.
So this is what you see right here. This is taking place at 10 Downing Street. So this is
that night, right?
Yeah, this is the night that Jews were killed last night. Keir Starmer actually signed over a Palestinian state, right? He said, okay, Hamas, you can have your own state. And this is the thanks he gets.
Outside of number 10 Downing Street is pretty deafening. It's mostly pro-Palestine protesters that are there right now. It is getting a bit violent, Ian. I've just seen.
Okay. This was a celebration immediately following Jews being killed and a call for beheading of Jews. This is in the UK. Unbelievable. Okay. And so this is what we see on college campuses. Yeah. This is not free speech. I think now
violent speech. Let's be honest.
It's violent speech. And I think that now, at least people that had their head out of their ass, Christian conservatives, realize after the Charlie Kirk thing, when you call someone a Nazi, when you call someone all these names, and when you say that they're an existential threat to your existence, that's pre-genocidal speech. It needs to be recognized.
I think the reason why I brought this up is because I really want to make the correlation that people are not making to these people they work in terrorist cells. I don't care if we're talking about what happened in Manchester or what is happening in Portland. Those are terrorists.
Yeah.
And they sympathize with each other, whether it's in Portland or in Manchester. They would just as easily work together to harm one of us as that they possibly could. And I don't think people put the connection together that those are the same kinds of people.
Well, when you've got this Tifa, okay, element that's killing Catholic school children, killing Charlie Kirk, killing Christian school children, right? They're always, not almost always or nearly always in with a pro-Hamas crowd, always, right? So it's inseparable. And it just is. When you see it on campus, it just is. They have been talking about white Christian males being the biggest threat to evil in their existence. They've been talking about that, right? And they've been carrying it out physically on Jews, but it's here.
They don't just talk about it. We have professors in University of North Carolina, Asheville, that write their dissertations about it. Then they go and spew that crap to kids. But what the other part to me that people don't seem to correlate is if you're going to say that Israel is bad or Israel is, whatever you want to say, you're also bending the knee to these people. Because that's right, because Israel is the only country that is fighting against it by themselves.
We have taken out in Israel, and I say we because every Jew, every real Jew, I mean, Yom Kippur, I think I read and had to recite Israel probably, it's a long service, Margot, probably 500 times because the centrality of the nation of Israel. And those who say the nation of Israel and the government of Israel different, blah, blah, that is a fig leaf for anti-Semitism. What they're doing is taking the country of Israel and using it as a stand-in for all Jews. Same thing with ADL. I hate the ADL. I think it should be disbanded. I think it's caused a lot of problems for Jews. But when you use the ADL as a stand-in for Jews to bludgeon them, and it does happen, then that's anti-Semitism. And I'm going to call them out. And I do not care who is not my friend. I do not care. And I have a lot of people, more people stand with me than not. But it's being happened all too often. The government of Israel is evil. But when you do not criticize any other government, by the way, they're not talking about the CCP, who actually is evil. They're not talking about Qatar, who's actually evil. They're not talking about the government of Iran. Israel and Jews seem to be the only thing on their lips.
It's an obsession.
That is anti-Semitism.
Right. But it's also, you can say, I guess the correlation I'm trying to make is anti-Semitism, anti-Americanism, same thing. Very same thing. When you see this in Portland, that's anti-Americanism.
Well, look at this. You wanted to do this segment, and I'll be honest. I told everybody.
I made her do it.
I said,
make you, but I did ask.
You're pushing the issue that people want to hear about, and it is correlated. And I said, I'm pretty triggered. I've got October 7th around the corner. We've got, what happened in Manchester. And I just came out of Yom Kippur and I was like, and when you read that stuff, because Jews are all about, and the religion's all about, look at all the shit they've done to us. Oh my God. And you're reading that stuff and you're coming out and you're hearing about this attack and you're seeing people with machine guns at your synagogue.
Right.
It does something to you.
Well, and what is the difference between seeing machine guns at your synagogue when you're going to have to start seeing them at churches? Because that's what's happening.
Absolutely.
And I'm trying to make that correlation that they're not going to stop at Catholic kids in a Catholic school. They're not stopping. They're all one people doing this. And I just want to say this out loud because I don't think people listen. I don't care what you think of me. I grew up in Germany. I lived in Germany. I was a kid in Germany when those Olympic athletes were killed. I have lived longer than most people have to see how Jews have been treated through the decades. And I will not waver from my support, period. End of story.
That means a lot.
It's not but listen, if I waver from my support to you, I might as well cave on my own country, because
it's inextricably linked. In fact, you know, yeah, it absolutely is, because these people want the death and destruction of Western civilization. We're the canary in the coal mine. And once you let anti-Semitism flourish, particularly in one political party, but in both, that's when you know your civilization's about to fall. I mean, we'll survive. I mean, the survival of Jews is, that's the one thing that's remained constant. The nation of Israel is the only nation that hasn't been destroyed.
Well, I want to put this out in the public sphere. You don't go around saying, I hate America, because you live here. But you have people that you're willing to say, I hate that country if you've never been there. Shut your mouth unless you know what you're talking about. I mean that. You don't like it when people talk bad about your country? Don't be talking bad about their country if you've never been there.
Well, I think we can say a fair amount about Russia. I think we can say a fair amount about Iran and others.
Superficially.
But I fail to fully grasp how we got. I mean, Tucker Carlson's been a huge driver. Steve Bannon has been a problem.
Candace Owens is a nut job.
Right. And I've been critical of TPUSA for platforming these people. And so for some reason, the Republican Party is not able to call out the anti-Semitism in their midst. And I'm telling you, I'm pulling the warning sign right now. We are going to lose big time in the midterms, and we are going to lose the presidency. J.D. Vance platformed himself with Tucker Carlson. I'll never vote for him. He's dead to me. I'm telling you. That is, if we're willing to call out anti-Semitism on one side, but let it flourish and actually rot our party from here. By the way, Tucker Carlson is interviewing somebody tonight who's got like 3,000 followers, who's literally inferring that TPUSA and by extension, Erica Kirk killed Charlie Kirk. That's who he's interviewing.
I've seen that. And listen, if you're not following Tyler Boyer on X, you absolutely should be. He is absolutely one of Charlie's best friends. I've known who Tyler is for years. He runs TPUSA Action. To watch him have to defend his friend against some of the lunacy out there is truly unbelievable. I actually went into a room with Ian Carroll, that nut job who hangs out with he was on a space, and he was talking about how there was a trap door where Charlie was, and the bullet ricocheted off a necklace. And I was sitting there thinking, are you really that stupid? It's just nuts.
Well, you cannot come up with any other conclusion other than this is a ploy from I don't know where.
It's clickbait
to destroy the base, because that's what it's doing.
I refuse to be around someone who sits there and puts a video of Kash Patel up and says, this is where Kash is saying he's censoring America. That's not what he said at all. He said we need to take a hard look at social media platforms. We absolutely do. Because you know what? Terrorists on social media platforms. Kids are watching porn on that.
Right. That's how they coordinate.
That's the giant leap that he made, is that this is censorship. Kash Patel says it right here because he says he wants to take a look at social media platforms. And I know we're veering off the topic, but it's happening. It's permeating our culture, where the wackadoodles are making wacky statements about countries, about platforms, about people being assassinated. Stop and just take a listen and really use your brain. Please.
Theo Vaughn said that Israel's trying to kill him. I mean,
I saw that.
So we have these things. Did you see my tweet?
No. I just think
I'm going to tell you, I said, if Israel wanted you
dead,
they would have detonated your butt plug when you were in Qatar.
Giving you a beeper. Anyway.
No, they would have just done it. He didn't use
listen, they know how to do their job. And I think that's another
we don't know who the hell he is. Jews do not know who a guy with a mullet is. I can guarantee you, by and large. If you have a mullet, Jews will not know you. Israel will not know. Although Israel, they do have mullets over there. Okay, so look, I mean, this is what we're talking about. Antifa. This is an attack on ICE. Now, you see the guy wearing a keffiyeh back here?
Yeah.
That's Antifa from 2 nights ago, an anti-ICE protest. So I wanted you to see that we know what we're talking about. This is what you said, a terrorist cell. Let's watch. We're watching a terror attack here. And why aren't we calling this out? This is absolutely ridiculous bullshit. Look at what happened to Nick Sarter. Okay, this is a friend of ours.
A friend of mine.
Now watch.
He puts out a burning flag
At this riot. And he gets arrested. And here's an interview that he did after, which is preposterous. He gets arrested. Portland police, by the way, they still don't know why he was arrested. It sounds familiar, but I digress. Here we go with an interview with him.
It already is. Okay, people knew that something out here stunk and that it was corrupt and that the police they take the side of the violent criminals that are here every single day, assaulting ICE officers, assaulting journalists. And then a reporter comes and, tries to embed deep within the chaos that's going in out here, and he's the one that gets arrested. They just proved the point that all of us have been saying. It's no longer a conspiracy theory. What's your
right? It's the violent criminals are who they're protecting. It whether it's here or with Starmer, okay? The whole or in those hearings. Legislator or local officials, Democrat cities protecting the criminals who are roaming the streets for someone to kill, murder, rape, or maim, the criminal thugs, the Muslim thugs who are running the country in the UK, or the Antifa who are wearing the keffiyehs, who are doing the bidding of Muslim terrorists and communists.
Yeah.
We're tired.
Now, I just think people don't want to try to equate the two, and they don't understand they are exactly the same. They are one and the same. They wear the same garb. They carry the same flags. They'll burn your flag. They want violence. They're exactly the same. They want you dead.
They want Western civilization dead. 3 weeks ago, and I haven't heard this reported a lot. Remember, and I think you've heard of it. I think it's somewhere in New Hampshire. Some guy busted into a wedding ceremony at just some random yacht club and said free Palestine, and ended up killing somebody just in the name of.
And it's happening more and more frequently. Yeah.
So, but this cause is not something people understand. The global intifada is not something they understand. They just understand that it's something they can rally behind. Jews are white, so they must be bad. They must be super bad because they're successful.
Yeah.
Super fascist. But they
want to be timid. A lot of Jews are timid. They won't stand up for themselves. Let's be honest. They don't. They will back no gun laws over gun laws. They don't stand up for themselves.
Let me tell you something. I have I cannot. It's hard for me to be around a leftist Jew. I can't actually stomach it. Hopefully we're going to have Josh Hammer on the show. I read his book during Yom Kippur, Israel in the West, and it just went over how destructive the left is and how surprising it is. I mean, with Marxism, the first victims were Jews, and the guy who devised it was a Jew, which means nothing. The left is coming for all of us. Now, I did say stuff about the right. What I'm saying is when you get the far right or leftist infiltrators, the far right, it's like a horseshoe, right?
Right.
The ends, right, will come right here and be radical and destroy everything. That's kind of what happened. I think that Tucker Carlson is an infiltrator. So I don't even think he's one of us.
I don't know, but I would like to dig around that a little bit more. I think he's put up some loony things lately, and I don't agree with them.
He's just put up Sharia law was good. He had somebody on that said Sharia law is not only more compatible with the U.S. Constitution. It is a superior form of governance. This is not a conservative. This is not a pro-American.
Well, we've really hit the topic, I think, that I wanted to, and thank you for that. I really do appreciate it. We do have to we're down to the final minutes, and I do want to make sure we talk about Charlotte. We circle back about Charlotte.
Okay, guys, we need help. We need, like we said, we are doing early voting kickoff. We need 100 people on. This is going to be fun as hell. This is going to be fun to get together all of the community. This is going to be fun. So it's going to be October 18th from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. in Charlotte. We need everyone in the sound of our voice to show up. What I want you to do, find us on X, DM us. We are going to give you the details.
Yes.
This is where we're going to meet. We've got to have a referendum on what has gone on in Charlotte. So we've got several city council members that we have to get over the threshold. We have the mayor candidate, if we can, to get over the threshold. And you're coming, correct?
Yeah, I am coming.
So that's going to be worth it in and of itself. So if you haven't met us, you're going to get to come hang out with us. And I mean, I can't think of anything more fun. Right?
We're going to have a good time.
This is another initiative. This is, okay, I just signed this petition. But go to our X feed. We're going to put this up. We're actually going to put this up tonight when we advertise this show. We need this petition signed. And really what it is to name the station. Oh, I'm not showing it, am I?
I was going to say, you got the wrong thing up right
now. I
now.
got the wrong thing, man. We are going to, the city council is looking at naming this station. Shoot. Okay. So we'll just show the petition. Sorry about that. For Iryna Zaruska. So it's the station that's where she was murdered. The city council is going to consider it. And so we need to get your signatures. So we're going to put that link up along with the show advertisement. We need 10,000 by next week. I think we can do it.
Yep. 10,000 signatures to get her name in honor of her. And that listen, give the family something, give the state, give the people something to remind them, of this poor young lady.
Right. I mean, the left wants us to silence it. And I think that's the whole impetus is that if you've got a station named for her, you're not going to be able to silence it. And we want to make sure of that. So,
that's right.
Okay.
So look for our X feed. You'll see it soon.
Okay.
Thanks, Sloan. Have a good
weekend. See you Tuesday.
Yeah.
All right. Hang on one second. Let me get this out video. Hold on. And we got it. And
that's a wrap on today's NC Political Tea. We hope you're leaving sharper, spicier, and ready to take on the political craziness in the Tar Heel State. If you loved what you heard, or even if it made you mad, don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and share this show with your friends, family, and that one coworker who just needs the truth. Follow us on social media to stay in the loop and get your daily dose of conservative fire. And remember, here in North Carolina, the grassroots grows stronger when we stand together. Until next time, keep the faith, keep up the fight, and don't let the left water down your tea. This is NC Political Tea, where we spill it like it is.